Alright, hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a full disassembly and reassembly of a Detonics 45 Combat Master. This is a customer's gun. It's a little rough. Actually, it's very rough. The slide is got quite a bit of pitting on it. See if I can get this to focus. It's got a lot of pitting and rust on it. The barrel is heavily pitted. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily pitted, but it's got a lot of rust, and it probably does have some light pitting at least. But I don't know if, I've talked to some friends who have dealt with very rusted bout barrels, and they've had some pretty good success. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a full disassembly on this. You'll need a couple of tools, small hammer, some punches. This is a pretty small one. This is a 1/16 punch. This is about the smallest you'll need. There is the smallest pin is I believe this one. There's this little tiny. I'll show it later, but it's a pretty small one. I just need that for this one, and then this one for pretty much all your other pins. And of course, a screwdriver that'll fit the screws. So just if you have one like this that has exchangeable bits, this is just a cheapy one. I don't even know where you can get this. You might be able to buy this at like Sears or Home Depot or something. I don't know. But I just got it as a birthday gift. Well, Christmas gift actually, as a bunch of other things. But anyway, let's get disassembling this thing. First off, of course, you got your 6-round magazine. This is an original Detonics one too. It's very cool. Alright, now your next step is going to be, you're going to want to just simplify it. Pull your hammer back, and then pull your slide back until it's just about at that groove. It's a lot like basically any other 1911 disassembly. Then just kind of going to want to wriggle your slide stop out. There it is. There's your slide stop. Put that aside. Oh joy. Sometimes the slide gets a little stuck. You might just need to give it a light love tap. Don't hit it too hard. You can use a little rubber mallet if you want. I'm not going to hurt the slide with this thing. But anyway, I'm going to start by taking apart the slide. So take out your guide rod and recoil assembly. You got your 2 springs in there. The newer Detonics have 3 springs to enhance spring life. So you're spreading out that energy. Now turn down your barrel link and pull your barrel out the front of the slide. Barrel is heavily pitted. My English. But anyway, I'm going to try and save this. I might not be able to. I might be able to. I'm not sure yet. As of now, it won't even chamber around. I do not have... Actually, wait. No, I do have a round of 45. Alright, to show an example, this is just normal 45 ACP Winchester brass. That is as far as it will go. That is not a proper chamber. I might be able to jam it in there with a hammer. No, I can't. Oh, there we go. But that is not a proper chamber. So that's going to need a lot of work. Alright, let's move on back here. We're going to take out our, of course, firing pin and our extractor. Push your firing pin in, and then push up on this block. Just sort of slide it. Alright, now you're going to want to put your thumb over the back of the slide like this so your firing pin doesn't go everywhere. Pull out your little block, put it there. Slide out your firing pin and firing pin spring. Alright, now take your screwdriver, and then you're just going to want to lift out your extractor like this, and then just pull it out. And there's your extractor. Let's put that aside. And that's basically 100% disassembly of your slide, except your rear sight. And no, I think that's actually about it. Anyway, set that off to the side for right now. Now we're going to move on to our frame. Start by taking the grips off. Don't want to lose these little tiny screws. Now these older Detonics, I know they can be kind of finicky. I looked at one other in the guy's private collection recently. His has the same problem as this one, where the screw is stuck to this little lug. It's probably not actually a lug, but it's basically the mount for the screw, and then that mounts to the frame instead of the screw mounting directly to the frame. And it's unfortunately stuck to the screw, and I'll show that in a minute here. Because these little guys right here, this one just screws out because it's stuck to the inside of the, what do you call it? Can't get the. I could probably, if I finagled it long enough, but it's not that big a deal to the customer or me, so he's not that worried about it. He got this for almost nothing, and unfortunately he didn't treat it super well. But anyway, let's poke out our other grips, other side of the grip panel. Well, other grip panel. Put the screws in it for right now, so we're not losing these screws. Push them in there. Set this off for this. Oh shoot! There we go. All right, now our next step is going to be taking out the mainspring. Actually, yeah, the mainspring housing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our punch and just push it. Come on. I need to get a little bit of leverage on this one. Just give it a light tap. Alright, I can feel it drifting out. And you can probably see it. Well, actually, I don't, yeah, you can kind of see it on the camera. There we go. Mainspring housing. Not going to bother taking this apart. There's a very small pin that holds it in, and I'm not going to bother taking that out. If you really want to, you can push that little tiny pin out and take it apart. I might end up doing that in the future when I do start actually restoring this gun. I've been cataloging all the parts and pieces, doing lots of little research. But anyway, let's move on. The next step is going to be pulling your hammer back, and since now there's no mainspring housing, it has no tension really. Now you're going to want to put up your safety selector and wriggle this little guy out. This guy should come out eventually. So there we go. That's that little guy. I cannot remember what it's named, unfortunately. Now you're going to want to pull out your safety. This also sort of acts as a pin for the stand-in for your grip safety, but this is not a grip safety. It's way too small for that. Now, of course, you've got your spring for your trigger and sear and disconnector. Now we're going to want to take out the hammer. I'm going to grab our punch again and just push it out. It might come out easy, it might not. This one comes out pretty easy for the most part. Now we're going to want to take our smaller punch and push this pin out. It should come out pretty easily. Oh, don't want to lose that little guy. Alright, now our sear and disconnector will just drop out. This is your disconnector, this is your sear. I'll show you how those go back together in a minute, because that was one part that kind of stumped me and I was a bit confused. Alright, now we're going to take out our trigger and magazine release. Going to push in on your magazine release on the left, from the left hand side of the frame. Twist and push down with your screwdriver and twist to the left, or counterclockwise. And that'll push it so it'll focus. So that way it's locked in there like that. And if you want to take this apart, of course, afterward, you just sort of twist it out, and then you can pull it out. I need to trim my dang fingernails. Looking like a girl, man. Tell you what. Dang. Alright. Now your hammer will just slide right out the back of the frame. And that is basically 100% disassembly minus these little guys. Not really that big a deal. But there you go. Detonics 45. Now we're going to put it back together. Take your trigger. It'll only go in one way. So it'll go in like that. So now we're going to want to take, of course, our magazine release, put it in. Now this can be kind of finicky getting it back in, but I got it on the first try. Just sort of push it, do the opposite of what you did basically, minus, well, you still got to push it in, of course, just turn it to the right, and you kind of got to, you might have to finagle a little bit. Alright, now we need our sear and disconnector. Now your sear and disconnector go together like this. Actually, Wait, yeah. Sear and disconnector go together like this. Food focus. Go together like that. Now I'll show you how that goes in. Now you see the little groove right there? It's your disconnector is supposed to stick out of that little hole there in the top of the frame. So just, of course, slide it in there. Might take a bit of work. There we go. Now you're going to want to make sure, of course, that your disconnector and sear sit just over your trigger bar there. Now, we need the pin. Take your smaller pin. Now you're going to need to, you might need to take your punch to kind of move your sear into position so you can actually drive your pin through it. If I angle this off screen, sorry about this. Come on. Nope. Almost got it. It's sort of sitting on the lip. There we go. Okay. I just had to push my disconnector up a bit. So that's how that goes in there, like that. It should look like this, you know. Alright, now what you're going to want to do is put your spring in, slide it up to the top. Keep pushing it until you got to make sure it's over your disconnector, your trigger, and your sear. If it is not, it will not function properly, and it has to sit in this groove like this. So it has to sit in there like that, and it has to cover your disconnector and sear like that. And your trigger, of course, but that's the middle one covers your. Here, let me see if I can get the focus again. Come on, there you go. Well, all right. Your middle part of the leaf spring covers your trigger and part of your disconnector, and then this little guy covers the nub on the sear. So, and it also helps cover the disconnector. But anyway. Now the fun part. You gotta shove your finger in there. It's kind of painful if you got fat hands like me. Now you're gonna want to take your hammer, kind of hold up on the tail, or whatever this is called. I can never remember. Very technical term. And take your hammer pin, line it up carefully. Luckily, it does not have to sit on the sear. Another part will come into play for doing that job later. Now, be sure not to touch the trigger when it's in this state, because now we need to take our mainspring housing and slide it up. Okay, if I can get it. There we go. All right. Well, actually, I need to push the tail down. Kind of have to, oh shoot, did not want it to do that. Okay. Alright. Come on. Push that up in there, take your mainspring housing pin, and then you're going to want to drive it in. There you go. And it should look like that. Now, the next step, oh, I wonder if you can hear that on the camera, just crack my neck. I got a really bad neck. Anyway, we're going to want to take our stand-in for the grip safety, and then just kind of, come on. There we go. Now we're going to want to pull the hammer all the way back to where it's cocked. Now we're going to want to take our safety selector, put it in the hole so it makes sure it holds the stand-in for your grip safety. Then just kind of finagle it into place, and it should be flush-ish with the frame. So now that's held in place properly. Now you're going to want to take this little guy again. You want to make sure the longer pin is sticking out. That's the shorter pin. This shorter pin is for the slide stop. That's for your safety selector. Make sure your safety is up when you're putting this in, otherwise it won't work. It won't go in. Alright, there we go. Test function. Clicks in place, clicks open. Drop the air hammer. Alright, now that's basically it for the put the grips back on. So screw these in. Ugh. You don't have to screw them super tight, but just screw them until they stop. You know, if it gets rough, even, you know, kind of slow, you don't have to tighten them all the way down like that. That's plenty good enough, even though I could go further with that. Don't need to. As long as your grips aren't wiggling too much when you're holding it, you'll be fine. I'll be assembling the slide here in a minute. It's very simple. Come on. Ugh! Butterfingers today. Why is it always butter? I haven't even eaten butter. Okay. Okay, so that's your fully assembled frame. If you did it correctly, you should get a lock back, and you should get a first click. That's basically like your sort of a secondary safety. And of course, you've got your full cock, half cock, full cock, cock. Anyway, put that off to the side for right now, because we're going to be take your pin, of course. We are now going to be putting together the slide. So first step, of course, take your extractor, put it in, make sure the flat side is going to be flush with the inside of the frame, well, the body of the slide, so it should look like that, give or take. Might want to adjust it slightly, you know, that'll work. Now we're going to take our firing pin and firing pin spring, slide that in. Now take your block and make sure the rounded side is facing down on the slide, and kind of insert it into these rails at the bottom. If it'll go in. There we go. Now, oh shoot. Push your firing pin in, slide your block over, and that's that. Alright, now make sure your barrel link is down. Slide your barrel in, make sure it fits. Take your guide rod and spring assembly, whatever, recoil springs, and it should look something like this, give or take. Alright, now the fun part of putting these two pieces back together. I find the easiest way usually is to sort of angle it down, make sure everything's fitting right. Alright, there we go. Got it on my first try. I'm totally not a professional. Might be a bit easier if you put your hammer on half cock. Alright, take your slide stop, get it in there, pull your slide back. Oh shoot. Alright, there you go. Test function. Should look something like that. Your guide rod should not be protruding. And that's that. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in next time for whatever I do. I don't know.